Lisa, half Asian Tarot Queen, pulling from my Mystical Shaman Oracle, because I've really been on a tear with it lately. But we'll see where we're at today. It's been spring, you know, so lots of, well, it's almost spring. It's not spring in Minnesota where I just came from, but I'm in a slightly warmer climate now. Like here, my shirt, you can see. I'm in Tulsa, which if you look at it spelled backwards, it spells a slut. I was joking about how, like, you know, the city planners, when they were picking the name, were like sitting around the table, like having wine or something, and be like, ha ha, wouldn't this be a funny name for a town? So anyways, I'm pulling my 2 cards. So I got the Circle and I got the Sweat Lodge. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting continuation from the reading from yesterday. So the Circle is kind of like, it's a card about how we're all interconnected and we're all, you know, one consciousness. But, you know, it's also just a card of like how you're connected to everything and everyone, you know, and it kind of represents that. But then the Sweat Lodge, this is like a card of healing, you know, and it's sort of like, almost like, you know, you're walking over these coals, you know, towards this light. And it's just like a kind of like a card of transformation, but sort of just like, it kind of is supposed to like represent the womb of Mother Earth, where you're sort of like going, you know, into the darkness to like heal it and let it be transformed. And you know, you're kind of in the safety of this womb of Mother Earth, but you know, on the other side of this sort of purging, when you come out towards the light, you're going to be transformed. So it's interesting because yesterday there was the serpent and it was talking about molting and like being transformed. So it's just like, it's like you're kind of like healing some aspect of like how you're connecting, you know, which is interesting because it's just sort of like, you know, sometimes when people experience like trauma in their life, you know, and then they have these like deep emotional wounds that impact how they connect to everyone and everything in their life, you know, and so, you know, people have to go through this process, and like, and sometimes, you know, that involves like when people go to rehab, for example, it's like you go into this like protective circle, you know, and you transform, and then you re-engage the world in a different way, or you might re-engage with different people, or, you know, because you've fundamentally changed how you interact with this oneness. So that's kind of what I'm getting from that. Interesting. I'm taking the Radiant Wise Spirit, and at the bottom of this deck we have the Ace of Wands. So that's like a new passionate, new inspired beginning. So this is interesting because it's like we're coming out from this transformed energy and we're re-engaging the world from a totally different place, you know. And so, you know, that might mean different people, you know, a different really foundation for how we're like connecting. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like profoundly healing, you know. I did this reading a couple weeks ago called Redemption, and it was all about, you know, like, because I was mentioning like my saga with my vegan cheese empire that I went through. And it started, the company started out of this lack situation because I had been in this accident, you know, and so it was like almost like the company was founded on this energy of lack, and so it had to be that the company just like had to like almost like start over from scratch, because so it could be like be born out of a different energy, so that it wasn't always just like recirculating this lack energy. And it's interesting because as I'm saying this Four of Pentacles comes up, which is a totally like card of like holding on to what you have because you're afraid and you're fearful that you're gonna lose it. And so it's just sort of like there's this truth being revealed about this lack energy. You know, we're kind of drawing boundaries around that, and that's making way for this Ace of Wands, which came out again, you know. So it's just like we have to heal this energy. It came out like this in order to make room for this, which is crazy because it's like another way of saying this, which is kind of beautiful. So I'm going to pull from the Bianco Nero to get some general. Okay, so at the bottom of the deck we have this Ten of Pentacles. So that's really good. That's like it's kind of like the Dynasty card. There's a whole thread called Dynasty, and it's about this whole family dynasty that's being born. And but it's basically like it's abundance, but it's like the kind of abundance that like is the foundation for like a whole family, or you know, almost like an empire, you know. It's that kind of abundance. And that was at the bottom of the deck. So you know, it's interesting. Oh, so this Six of Cups just flipped out, which is, that's like a soulmate energy. And then we had the Emperor at the bottom of the deck, which is, okay, I'm just going to keep flipping all the cards and then I'll tell you the whole narrative, because this is an interesting story that's coming out. But it's interesting that we got the Ten of Pentacles because, you know, I was talking about, you know, this whole lack situation that was needing to be healed, and then, you know, kind of re-engaging the world. And so it's almost like, well, there's this whole thread called Dynasty, and it's all about this King of Pentacles who had to like right some wrong that had befallen his counterpart, and by healing that situation, he was going to go through this ascension event where he's going to become this emperor, and you know, and that was going to be the start of this whole dynasty. And so it's just like he had to kind of heal this like lack situation in order to ascend, you know. So like basically go through this process of like healing this situation and then re-engaging the world from a different perch, from a different perspective. And then, you know, in doing that, he was going to ascend, you know, to his emperor status. So what's interesting is, you know, while I was doing that, so we got this Six of Cups, you know, so healing some sort of soulmate situation from the past is what I'm getting from this. But then what's crazy is we get the Emperor that came out next, you know. So it's like we're healing some situation and then we become the Emperor. So this is, you know, it's resonating with the whole story that's been intersecting in the Dynasty, Divine Feminine, and Epic Love Story and Phoenix threads. You know, like there's these different threads, because it's kind of like a daytime soap opera where, you know, there's these different storylines that are kind of always evolving, but sometimes they intersect, you know, and so they're like kind of related, and this is one of them. So it's just like there's some kind of ascension event that's happening with this Emperor, and it's like the foundation for this dynasty that's happening. But however, the next card we get is the Five of Swords, which is kind of like, you know, somebody's going to lose out when this situation is healed, because, you know, obviously there were people that were benefiting from this situation, which is why it's been like hanging out in the energetic realm forever, you know, and not really surfacing, because there's like been a lot of resistance to whatever this change is, you know. And then the next card we get is the Three of Swords, you know. So like there's heartbreak and loss that's going to happen with this change, you know. But then we get the World card, so it's like it's the end of a cycle, you know. So whatever this heartbreak and loss was that needed to be healed, like that's happening, you know. We're finally healing these energies, And we're ending that cycle, and we're coming into this beautiful 10 of Cups, you know, this happiness, abundance, family, fertility, joy, you know, like, it's like the beginning of this new era, which is good, you know, this is a good thing. So I'm going to pull 3 more cards from Radiant Wise Spirit for guidance, and then I'm going to, okay, so that's interesting because we just got that, I feel like we just got that card yesterday or the day before, but oh my gosh, whoa, this is crazy. Okay, wow, okay, so we've got the 7 of Wands. So whatever this change is, it's like you're going to have to stand your ground because there's obviously resistance to it out there. Okay, so anyways, there's this truth that's being told and boundaries that are being drawn around some situation, you know, involving some sort of soulmate from the past, you know, and some sort of heartbreak. So it's like maybe we're drawing boundaries around the heartbreak, you know, we're healing this situation, and we get the 10 of Wands over this. So we're like putting this burden down, like whatever this heartbreak was, we're finally ready to let that go and put it down, you know, drawing boundaries around it, and this situation is being healed, which is good, you know. What's crazy is on top of this, we're holding on to this past, and, you know, but we have this cycle of holding on is ending, you know, and we had the King of Pentacles fall on top of this, which is crazy because, you know, that was the whole story that I was talking about, you know, where there was this King of Pentacles in this thread called Phoenix, and he had to go through this event where he was going to heal some situation, some sort of injustice from the past, and then in doing so, it was like this spiritual lesson where he was going to ascend to become an emperor. So this is crazy how this is all falling out, because this has been this recurring storyline for a really long time. And so, like, there's, you know, there's going to be some drama that's going to happen with this, you know, but it's like, use your intuition, you know, and follow this inspiration and this passion, because that's going to, like, lead you through whatever firestorm this is towards this, you know, and you're being guided. So it's like, trust that, because it's gonna work out. But I'm gonna pull 1 card from Sacred Traveler Oracle to finish. But this is perfect. This is at the bottom. It says, choosing your path, all is possible. So it's just like, don't get discouraged, you know, there's a path. Everything is possible. You're being guided. Follow the guidance, and it's going to work out, you know, like, this is like a profound healing event that's happening. So, you know, in doing that, you're going to have to walk through this firestorm, but it looks like, you know, it's like this new beginning that's coming online. It's going to be good. So, good luck. We'll check in soon.